Do you hate doing something that you feel like you have to do and wish you had some free time to allow yourself to do what you want to do? Well, I'm going to unpack some thoughts on that today. Got a lot of experience dealing with that. On one hand, I've been an engineer, run companies, run businesses, had expectations for myself and for others. But I've also been an artist and also an athlete where flow and letting it happen was more powerful than the rigid force that many of us use in our lives. So stick with me and let's unpack that. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. I'm here to try to help you find what you want, get what you want, understand what your needs are, understand yourself better, and have a better life. So, a fellow that I really have a lot of respect for, he wrote a movie that I was in, and I continue to collaborate with this guy. He's a country music artist, and today he writes most of the time. And he likes to write short movies and even some longer form movies, but he's really gifted. And he understands character development. He used to write his own country music songs and sing them and produce them. And so I've really gotten to enjoy him as an artist because I think he really is working from his heart, from his spirit. And that's something that is missing a lot today because, like, let's say you're a YouTube creator and you've got this duty to put out a video religiously, almost like dogmatically, just whether you want to or not, you've got to have this video, whatever the frequency is, you've got to be consistent for the YouTube algorithm. It's almost like they've turned creatives into slaves. And then I look around and I also see so many people that used to be artists that were trying to express themselves being pulled into creating characters that are contrived and cliched-like, and rather than having an open spirit that might be doing something that kind of surprises everybody on set, rather than just delivering the exact thing that was expected. So what's that about? I mean, the duty versus, or the conformity versus the free-spirited, free will, the self-expression. How do you balance that? I find a lot of people, when they really get honest with me, sometimes they say almost, well, not almost, but they actually do say that they wished that they wanted to do the right thing. Well, that kind of puts this into perspective of wanting to fit into the world and then also wanting to have the world respect you for who you are. And the freedom of expressing who you are in the world. So we have these, we have this audience and we have this inner need that some of us feel. And one of the things that I felt like, can get in the way is this feeling of being controlled. And as an artist, you have to find a way to get yourself ready to perform when, like if you're an actor, they've got everybody on set and everyone's waiting for you to show up and deliver your lines and character when they say action. So one of the things that has occurred to me as I've examined how to get myself ready to deliver is I have to make sure that I've vented any destructiveness that I feel might get in my way, whether it's self-destructive or if I'm angry at somebody else. Those things, can get in the way of being free and open and really expressing what is expected and what I really want to work from my inner life, which is more about love and the finer things in life rather than the rage. So sometimes I find that I have to be very deliberate in making time to let out that rage, whether it's through exercise or maybe it may be some writing, or I may even create a character and film myself in that character that may be a criminal, and just let myself play with that, get it out of my system. And then whenever I sit down and I feel like there's maybe a dutiful time that I've set aside to do some writing or to work on a project where there's some expectations of me, then I'm really free to work in that space, on that project. And that's when there's more of the magic that we have access to, where the better stuff can come up, and maybe I'll even surprise myself now and then. So you can learn from letting yourself have these time periods where you get into a state where you feel pushed and dutiful. And then it's interesting after you do that with yourself, like, I may even, like if I'm expected to write something, I may write something in that state and then flip around and try the opposite. What if I could find a way to get into a great mood, kind of a silly mood, maybe a comedic mood, and work from that? And another thing that you might consider what it's like to be on the other side of the rage, or the other side of maybe being the recipient of a dutiful act. I mean, what if your neighbor brought something over when you were sick to take care of, to help you? They found out that you were sick, they bring over something for you, maybe dinner. And you find out later that they felt like you did something nice for them, so they were just paying you back. Well, that's a lot different than someone that is really heartfelt, that notices that you're down or sick and says, oh, I need to reach out to them. Not because of duty, but because they care. So imagine the work that you do as an artist, that there are people out there that need this treatment or this character, or they need to see this aspect of something in society that you've noticed. Maybe you're building a satire around it. You're making fun of it, but you're making fun of it to bring it to people's attention so that they can laugh at it and learn. I also, believe in these flow states. I used to play basketball, and that was one of the great learning grounds for me to deal with all of my complex emotions and conflict, because I loved my teammates and I was very protective of them. And I also, I happen to have had the physical ability and size that I was kind of in between being a big guy and a more agile, like, guard. So I could, kind of move between those. And it allowed me a chance to explore different identities on the court, but mostly to get into the flow and to have some more forceful positions. If you know anything about basketball, if you're playing underneath the basket, there's a lot more force involved than if you're playing out on the perimeter. there's a lot more flow and passing and dribbling and moves than, and then on defense, there's a lot of teamwork involved in understanding, who's guarding who and when a switch occurs. And there's really just kind of for me as an ex-jock, it's kind of a magical connection that you have with each other. So those patterns, became, very ingrained in my thinking and in my body and in my ideas about how I would relate with other people. In fact, it was kind of more difficult to relate to people off the basketball floor than it was on, because in life, the rules that everyone have are often juxtaposed and confused. But for us artists, or for those of us that are struggling with feeling like a slave versus feeling free to express ourselves, recognize that there are certain patterns. Like even in basketball, we had a certain configuration that we began defense on, whether you're playing a zone or a man-to-man. And on offense, there were some patterns that we began with, and then we would deviate from those as necessary to achieve our goal, which was to make a basket or to stop the other team from scoring. Another thing to consider is to make sure you're on the right team. I think it's a bigger issue in life once you do heal, if you've been through trauma, like many of us, or you've made a few wrong choices in relationships and maybe even professions, like I did, to correct yourself and then to try to find the right team, try to find the right group of people around you that are connected, that have similar views toward the rules around community or the profession that you're in or the whatever organization that you might find yourself in. Not to mention family and friends. It's really essential to make sure that there's some common understandings about the rules and values that you have. That makes flow a lot easier to obtain. And also to get the support that you need to not isolate yourself, but to have a chance to ultimately to have a place to distribute and share with others the good work that you're trying to produce. Some of which will come out of a regimented, dogmatic, and structured pattern, but which may really be blessed with the freedom of expressing your spirit. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. All the best.